What's going on, guys? Welcome to the All Sports Best podcast. I'm Trey Gonzalez, and today we have Coach Zumbrun of the Cavemen basketball team. Coach, you've been coaching for the Cavemen for how many years now?
This will be my 6th year for the Cavemen. I went 12 with the Cave Girls, so 18 overall.
18 years. That doesn't seem real.
Yeah, when I took the job, I didn't think I was going to be here 18 years.
Yeah.
But 18 years later, here we are.
Yeah, okay. So, guys, again, Coach Zumbrun of the Cavemen basketball team, appreciate you for being here tonight.
No, always welcome. Always have a good time.
Yeah. Today we're hosting the podcast here at the Lucky Bull Grill upstairs. And if you're interested in making a purchase to support All Sports Best, you can see we've got hats very similar to this one. So if you're interested, hit us up and let us know. Coach, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what the team looks like this year, kind of what to expect and that kind of stuff. But the first thing that I wanted to address was we had a player from Artesia on the podcast, right? He came on here and he mentioned that he has confidence in them to win it all. They won it all last year. They look to win it all again this year. What is the confidence level for the Cavemen this year coming into the season?
Artesia's good. No ifs, and buts about it. Coach Mondragon does a great job. And that group they have is a special group. I believe, they just won it in football. They won basketball last year, and I believe they won baseball. And so they really have a good group. And, and they need to be confident. And they probably through 7th, 8th, 9th grade, have really probably put it on our seniors.
Sure.
So I understand where the confidence comes from. Our kids are excited, though. They're really, it's always a rivalry. It's always a big game for them. We've split with them the last 2 years, 1-1. We had a nice little run before that. I think we're 8-3 against them the last 5 years. But they definitely, with this group, have become a major force in the state.
Sure.
And so it's going to be a dogfight. Our kids are going to get up for it. And Artesia needs to be confident. They're the state champions,
Yeah.
They do a great job, obviously, of sharing athletes, and they do things the right way over there, and they pride themselves on it. So we got to come up to their level, but we'll be ready. We'll be there to play basketball. We're going to show up, and we'll definitely be a dogfight. They're huge. They're probably 6 inches taller at us in every position.
Like on average?
Like every guard is 6 inches taller than every guard we have, and their posts are probably 5 to 6 inches taller than our posts.
Okay.
So they got a special group, Anytime you win a state championship, Coach Mondragon's got those guys playing. And by the time we see them, they're off of football and they'll be back in the basketball shape.
Sure.
So, they need to be confident, no doubt about it. But our kids are confident too. I mean, our kids put in a lot of time. This group we have this year probably has worked as hard as any group as I've ever had. And so it's always fun to play those guys. The crowd's good. And, afterwards we play hard. We'll shake their hands, and wish them to get better. It's not what, I'll take a district win or a district championship before we beat Artesia anytime. So.
Sure. And where is the game this year?
Well, we'll play home and away. So
Okay.
I don't have the date, but the first game will be at our place, and then we'll play over their place. And we've split, like I said, the last 2 years. It's been very competitive. We've gotten one at their place and one at our place, and vice versa. So just because you're at home doesn't mean anything in that game.
Sure.
And Coach Mondragon will have them ready to play, no doubt. So it's always fun to play Artesia.
So piggybacking off of like the confidence level, coming into the season for the Cavemen, I wanted to know about what your thoughts are on where we will be in district this year.
I think district is up for grabs. Roswell had an incredible year last year. They were a Final Four team. Mm-hmm. They lost 4 senior starters. They're going to be young, but those guys work hard over there, and they got some pieces. Hobbs, same thing, Final Four team. Our district was tough last year, 2 Final Four teams in the state of New Mexico.
Yeah.
And, in 5A basketball, there's 29 teams. And so, to get to the Final Four is pretty good. And so they lost they got some pieces back, Clovis had a big junior class, and they're going to be competitive. And we lost 4 seniors, but we have a lot of guys that were role players last year that played at juniors, kind of know what it's about. I think district is wide open. I think we have every bit of opportunity to win, as we had in any year. You know, is it going to happen? I don't know. But our guys are working hard. I think they believe they can get some district wins and then pile them up and see what happens at the end. So
Yeah. And in our district, there's 4 teams.
4 teams.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I also wanted to ask, since you had mentioned like the sharing athletes thing before, I wanted to know, like, what is your policy on like sharing athletes? Because I know in Carlsbad, that's kind of almost in a way become, or at least hearsay is that it's kind of an issue. Like some coaches don't really like it, whatever. Do you have any athletes this year that are playing multiple sports?
We do. We got a couple guys that have come off of football. It's gotten tough, especially at 5A. Everybody's off season has become so exclusive that it's tough to leave 2 periods a day, and that's just the truth. You know, you're going 2 periods a day. You're playing fall ball like in baseball. We're playing spring, fall, and the summer in basketball, and it's tough to miss. So it has become tough at the 5A level. I think if you go most places in 5A, you may have a couple guys, you know, that play multiple sports, but they're just today's age. It's become. To me, they're kids. My own kids played multiple sports. Cameron Zumbrun was a volleyball player and a basketball player.
That's right. Yeah.
And so because we knew Cameron, you know, loved her to death, worked hard, but she wasn't going to be a collegiate Division I athlete. So I think there's some levels to it. You know, if you got a kid that's a D1 that's going to get NIL money, that's got a chance to step into the pros, you know, in baseball to get drafted, I think there's some decisions made. My philosophy kind of is, if you're an athlete, but you know that, you know, this is play, be a kid, have fun. That's always my philosophy.
Yeah.
Now it's tough. A lot of times you can say go play, and you're average at 3 sports instead of being good at 1. And it's competitive. The football field's competitive. The baseball field's extremely competitive, and the basketball court's competitive. You know, I got guys that get 200, 300, 400 shots up a day, 365 days a year, and you're asking a kid not to be in the gym. You know, it just, you know, it's tough. Talked about Artesia. Artesia won the state championship, but they were 1-5 against Roswell, Hobbs, and us. If they get 4th place in our district, they may not be in the state tournament.
That's fair. Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's levels to it. You know, Artesia 100% does it the right way, and please just don't make that cut on this deal. You know, and say,
I'm going to clip it just right.
You know what I'm saying? But they do it the right way, but there's levels to it. You know, if they have to play Cleveland in basketball, it's another world, you know. If they have to play Cleveland in football, it's another world, you know. And man, they're, like I said, they're really good, you know. And so, but they were 1-5 against our district last year, and they you know, they share athletes, but they didn't beat Roswell, and they didn't beat Hobbs, and they split with us. And so it's a tough situation. You want to split athletes, you want to split your best athletes, because in a town like Carlsbad, if you don't have your best athletes there, we don't have enough people in school. You know, Hobbs has over 2,800 students in their school.
Yeah, they're big. Yeah.
If you put Artesia and Carlsbad together, we're smaller than Hobbs. People don't realize that we have to go up against Hobbs, and Hobbs we're closer actually to Loving in population, school population, than we are to Hobbs.
Really?
Yes. I mean, we have 16 something. Hobbs is at 2,800. They have 1,200 more kids. Yeah. You know, and so maybe it's about equal. Yeah. You know, but we're closer to the Goddards and the Portaleses and so if we don't share athletes, it's tough in Carlsbad. But if you do share athletes, then you know, guys are going to other sports, and then they're behind in the sport. So it's a really tricky situation. My philosophy is, I think in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you should play everything. And then I think things fall in the line. Right. You know, if you're good enough to play 2, 3 sports, there's no coach in America not going to take you.
Sure.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
You'd be silly. But you may have a kid in 9th grade play 3 sports and say, you know what? Basketball may not be for me because I can see I'm not on the path to be on the varsity, or I'm not on the path. And so I think my philosophy is, I think they should play everything and be kids. And I think it all falls into place. Sure. You know, but it's become tough. You know, in Albuquerque, you're a baseball guy, they play every weekend. Yeah. You know, they play every weekend. In basketball, they play every weekend. In volleyball, they play every weekend. You know, and they never have to leave the city. So if your guys are not playing, our kids a lot of times are 200-300 practices behind by the time we get them, and they're like 100 games behind. Because our kids, our kids, they got to travel 3 hours to go to El Paso to get on a travel team, or they got to go to Albuquerque, or go to Lubbock. And so there's some money involved. You have to raise money. It's a different world here.
That's true.
And so it's, everybody wants to share athletes, but sometimes it's tough. So my philosophy, again, I think 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you play everything, kind of see where the cards are falling. And then I think kids, from that point, kind of, make their choice. And if it's to play 2 sports, great. We'll accommodate any kid, especially any kid that can help us. Would be silly not to.
Sure. Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. Last year, you had mentioned you had lost a few key members on the team to graduation, obviously. I never really expect you to just replace what those players bring to the table, but what are some of the roles that are being picked up this year left off by those seniors?
Well, we let Jacob Chavarria was our point guard.
And he was a good leader, right?
He was a great leader. He became unselfish. He led us in assists, and he was, a great presence in the locker room. So Zenas Huerta's taking over the point guard duties.
Very cool.
And we have Kevin Corals that can do it also. Kevin's a young sophomore. But Zenas has kind of taken that role. He's a scorer. He was second-team All-District last year. He shot the ball incredibly well during the district tournament. His game really kept improving as the season went on.
Yeah, it
and
did.
he's the guy I'm talking about that's in the gym. He comes into lunch and gets 300 shots up a day.
That's awesome.
He'll get there at 6 in the morning, get shots up. He'll stay after school. And so he's a gym rat.
And he's en route to play college ball.
He's gotten 2 offers.
That's awesome.
So far, I think Highlands and I want to say Palo Verde, I think in Blythe, California. And so he's got a couple offers, and he's a kid's put the work in. And, I've asked him, kind of pulled him to the side and really want him to take that leadership role. Hey, Coach Zumbrun's going to yell at some kids every now and then. You pick them up. You be the good guy. You tell them, hey, let's listen. And so he's starting to really kind of taking that leadership role.
Okay,
and
that's
so
important.
So he's taking it, right into the shoes of Jacob, and so he's got some growth to do still, like everybody, like myself and everybody else. But he's really taking over that area. The other one's Kieran Orgain. Kieran, 6'1" athlete. And he's one that's a little bit difficult to replace, especially on the defensive end, because he was so long and athletic. And
a lot of steals.
He could really get steals. He could really get hands up on the shots. And he just really got deflections and caused a lot of havoc. And so offensively, he shot the 3. This team, I think the team we have this year shoots as well as any team I've had. If we just had a horse competition, this team would be tough to beat up with the other teams.
Yeah.
But what is going to be hard to replace is his defensive presence. I'm a defensive guy. I mean, we talk, our pillars of our program are defend, rebound, take care of the ball. That's hangs in our locker room. And that's where it's going to be tough to replace, because the guards that we're replacing with are Zenas, Malik Mills, who can really shoot it. Tanner Cornum will get in there. Then Kevin Corals and Sanika Green can give us some on that. But, everybody there is under 6 foot. We got some quickness. They all have different abilities to do things. They all shoot the ball pretty well. But it's going to be hard to replace Kieran's length and his defensive prowess.
Yeah, no, for sure. So going into this year, coming in from last year, one of the big bright spots in your lineup was Shane Sullivan. Talk to me about what he brings to the table, because I was constantly amazed by him last year, where you think he's this humble kid that, he's probably in all AP classes, super smart, and quietly he just dropped 18 points or so. You know what I mean? He had games where he couldn't stop scoring or couldn't stop impacting the game. What is he bringing?
Yeah, 3-year starter, very intelligent.
Yeah.
There's guys in basketball that if I changed their position, they'd freak out. Like they wouldn't understand how to run the post position from a guard if we called an offense or just called a set play. Shane knows it from all 5 plays. Like he understands, he comprehends from every position. He knows why a play doesn't break down. And that doesn't happen with
That's cool.
everybody. So that's the intellect he brings to the game. And I 100% agree with you. I would go in after games and I would look at the score sheet and I'd say, Shane had 19. How? When did he get them?
Yeah.
He just couple offensive boards, couple layups, maybe a steal. He hits a three, he gets a post up, just unassuming. And he just, the one thing I always love about Shane, what I tell people, he's not soft. He has led us in rebound for 2 years. Like, he goes in and battles, and he gets in the post, and he fights bigger guys, and he fights and he steps them out, or he'll go get a rebound, and he'll block out. He's not a kid that's scared of contact. And so that just, you don't see that all the time with a 6'4" slender build.
Yeah.
And but he just goes and gets it, and he's, there's 8 Sullivan boys.
So I was going to say, you got to be tough.
I'm going to apologize to all the Sullivan boys, but Shane's got the complete package. He's the athlete. He can shoot. He's got skill.
He's the best of them,
tall.
you think? You've had some good athletes with the Sullivans too, right?
No doubt about it. Yeah. But I think Shane has the complete package. I think
he's very good.
Some athletes that didn't have as much skill, some skill that didn't have like the height without, Shane is the complete Sullivan. I apologize to the other Sullivans because I love all you guys. But
great family, by the way. I got a chance to meet them all mostly.
If all our kids were like the Sullivans, we'd have no problems at that school.
Yeah,
so, just
hard working.
Shout out to their parents because those kids are incredible kids. But Shane he just has something inside him that you can't teach.
Yeah. So we're talking about a lot of these guys who are coming to the table with like a shooting ability. We talk about Shane with offensive rebounds and just rebounds in general, just scrapping points together. What is, if you had to pick one like strong attribute of this team, what would you say?
I think work ethic. I think this team's really worked hard, and I think we've had to. We're going to be undersized. Dryden Priest is going to be a power forward for us. He's about 5'11", 6 foot. Really has gotten away room. Mario De Leon's coming back. He was our charge guy last year. We talked about it.
Oh, I always talked about it.
But his game has really kind of expanded. He's all these guys have been in the weight room. Mario's bench pressing over 250 pounds. He's running a 640 mile. He's gotten himself in better shape. Dryden's the same way. We got Tanner Cornum. We got several guys bench pressing over 200 pounds. So physically, these guys have really worked hard. They've ran, they've conditioned, they've got in the weight room, they've put in a ton of time. We're going to be undersized, but we're not going to get out physicaled. I think these guys are really going to battle. For us, I think the key is, can we be patient? Can we play as a team? Can we make the extra pass? Can we do the little things? And that's what we're building on right now.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's fun to watch these kids get a chance to know these guys from before they came to basketball, and then watching them and their personalities on the court and how they interact and stuff like that. So speaking of that, last year I kind of wanted to know like what your approach is this year in terms of like trying to, I don't know how to put it, I guess, just kind of calming some guys down. Last year we saw quite a few technicals called for temper flares and things like that. What do you do to try and mitigate that, or try and at least lower the chances of it happening?
Yeah, we have some emotional guys out there, there's no doubt. We have a pretty simple rule. You push 25 boards if you get a tee. It depends on, sometimes I sit you for the rest of the game. It just depends. Like, I think sometimes there's some tees that are like seriously, and then there's some times where the kid's wrong. If I think you're 100% wrong, you're going to sit. If it was kind of like, well, what,
I think last year I saw a tech, I think it might have been on Mario for trying to, draw a charge or whatever. Those kind of to me are like, hey, he's out there working hard.
Yeah.
A tech on something like that, maybe not.
Yeah. And I think every situation's different. We have a basic rule, and we got a couple guys this year that they get emotional, they play hard, the emotions fly. Our basic rule is, if you lose composure, you got to sit. And you'll be out there and you'll be doing a podcast. You may see somebody lose composure, but if you lose composure, we got to sit. If you get it back, I can get you back in, and if you can't, then you got to sit. And so I think that's the basic rule of thumb. It's we want our guys playing hard. We want them playing with emotion, and it's basketball, it's competitive. It's a fight out there, and it's physical. This basketball is not a game of just, of not getting touched anymore. We're asking kids to be in the weight room and the block out and to hit people and do things within, not dirty, but, within,
within reason,
within the rules.
Yeah.
And so it's an emotional game, and guys talk to each other though. That's the kind of the one thing that's maybe the last couple of years, every place we go, there always just seems to be guys talking. I don't know if they get together on Instagram before the games.
Oh yeah.
But our guys know their guys better than I do. We're playing Rio Rancho, and I'm like, okay, they're 6'6", they're 6'5", they're 6'5" in the starting lineup. Our guys kind of already know. I don't know. I'm old. I really don't want to learn how to do what you do right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a guy that doesn't even like to text, Trey. I want somebody to call me because I just hate texting. I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand. And so I'm not the social media guy, but
you can find out a lot that way, and your boys do it. Yeah.
But the kids know. I don't know how they know. They're just better at it than I am, and I'm not trying to be better at it than they are. So
Sure. No, I mean, for the record, if you're watching this right now, I texted Coach Zumbrun, asked him if he wanted to be on the podcast, and he called me. So that definitely, you're true to your word on that one for sure. So what is your philosophy this year on feeding posts and the short game? A lot of basketball, especially in boys, men's, et cetera, basketball has moved to the 3-point line. I know we like to shoot threes, but what is like the, philosophy going into it for the short range game?
Well, I think there's some personnel involved in what you're saying. We had Tyler Gonzalez. He was 6'7", 270. We put him on the block. We got some 1-footers. Mario's 6'2". He's going to go up against 6'6" tomorrow, and who's athletic and strong. The matchup may not be the same. We're going to see what it looks like, but so I think there's some personnel involved. I think depending on who's guarding Shane during the year, sometimes he may have the matchup. Dryden Priest, he's undersized post, but he can go down there.
He's got moves.
He's got some good moves and play some bully ball down there. So I think it's a game of matchups. I mean, it's any coach. If we're just running one thing and we play up, tomorrow we play a big athletic team against Rio Rancho, and you'll see our post slide up. If they're denying the slide, we may have to go to a 5-out motion where we don't allow their post to sit and wait on it, where we're like, we're really not going to get much inside because they're too big. So it just, every matchup's different. When we play in Artesia or Hobbs last year with the 7-footer, we put them in a lot of pick and rolls because the big boys don't like to come out and defend. And so you'd see Jacob Traverias go to the basket, and we're going to have Zenas attack the rim coming off those picks, and make those big guys have to come out and play in space. So every game's different. And I tell the kids that every game plan is different. We game plan against personnel, and it's just hard to say. We're not a big team. We don't have just huge size. And the guys that we do have that are big, like you may see Elijah Banks get in some. He's 6'5". But he's thin. He's a sophomore. He's learning. He can be muscled off a little bit. So if he's got the advantage, we definitely want to go inside. But at the varsity level, it's another, those guys are coached too, and so they're going to – I think it just depends on personnel. We definitely want to attack the basket on the dribble. The difference between – the varsity level and every other level is we tell our kids this. If you can dribble and get to the rim, the other team's no good. They're not coached. Does that make sense? Like, there's going to be help
at least
side.
After a couple of times, right?
They're going to be help side. They're not – good teams are not going to allow you – like, when you watch us, our defense, you're not going to see a lot of layups. Now, maybe on the fast break is different because and there's coaching involved in that and strategy of being defensive transition. But in the half court, a guy should not be able to dribble and get to the rim. You have 5 guys to stop the ball, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see us. Our philosophy is to penetrate. We want to penetrate. But good teams are not going to let you just get to the rim. You got to remember the NBA, the games that we all watch, there's a 3-second defensive rule. They're not allowed to play in the paint like they are in college. You don't see guys in college go for 50 in the NBA because they play defense. They're allowed to play anything they want.
Yeah.
The NBA, the lane's open. So they run the pick and roll every play because you're not allowed to sit in the lane. Well, watch tomorrow when they run the pick and roll, we're going to have 3 guys sitting in the lane on the roll. The roll's not open in high school, against us anyway. It shouldn't be open against most high school teams. In the NBA, that's all you see because they're not allowed to sit in the lane, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a different ball game than what we see on TV.
Sure.
You know, to me, the truest game is the college game. Because you can get off and help, you have to, you know, you could just camp in the paint. If you have a guy that can't shoot, they're just going to stay in the paint and clog it up. So our philosophy is we want to spread the floor with our guards and we want to penetrate. Now, if they give us a layup, we're probably going to win that game we're going to win by 40.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, that's the truth, you know. But if what happens is we penetrate, the help comes, somebody else is open. And so that's where you see where the game is gone is it's a spread floor. The penetrating kick is what everybody's trying to do.
Sure.
And so we've put a few wrinkles in. Josh Miller's my JV coach now.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Josh
I
Miller
didn't know that. That's cool.
He was at Volcano Vista the last 5 years. They won 4 state titles. And so he's put in some post wrinkles for us. When we penetrate, our posts have some specific cuts. He's really added a lot to our offense, and so we're hoping that we can get the ball inside. Some of the stuff that he's brought over with his knowledge in Volcano, he's been a big addition to us right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh is back in town after the last 5 years being at Volcano Vista, and he's brought 4 state championship rings with him. So
Yeah.
it's been a big addition to our staff.
Coach, I know you have just a little bit of time left, a couple minutes. Before you go, I wanted to talk about the Artesia tournament, which today is the day before the tournament starts in Artesia. So by the time this comes out, it should be game day. We're playing against Rio Rancho first round. What's the expectation there? How good is this team?
They're very big and very athletic. They're going to start 6'6", 6'5", and 6'5". 6'6", 6'5" may be as good athletes that are anybody has on the floor. They have a point guard, Bynum, that's a sophomore, but he's going to be a collegiate player. And they got a kid that can really shoot it. So their starting 5 is going to be tough.
Okay.
But our kids, they've worked hard. I mean, we're going to be there. It's going to be competitive. We played them in the summer. They got us in the summer. It's different. What's going to be tough about it is they got a new coach. Steve Heredia came from Atrisco. So the Rio Rancho coach from before, we'd played him so many times, we kind of know. Now we have a totally different system. So he's going to, we're going to kind of go see, and we're, it's going to be definitely a dogfight, a cat and mouse game, like with X's and O's, but we're going to have to slow them down. There's no doubt about it. If they get up and down the floor and they're dunking and high-fiving and doing things, it could be tough on us. But I think our kids, they put in our kids have worked. I'm telling you, they put in a good off season, and we're getting better every day. If we can keep them off the boards, and I told them this today, if we win the rebound battle, we got every. In my mind, we have every sign.
Yeah.
Because I think we're going to execute offensively. I think defensively we're going to be okay. It's just going to come down, can we get their big guys off the boards? And it's not necessarily just putbacks, but what happens is when you give offensive rebounds, the Shane Sullivans get fouls because they're trying to block the second shot. And then then our bigs are coming up to the bench in foul trouble.
Yeah.
So we really got to really execute and do our job on the block out to protect our big guys. Our big guys got to block out too, but if we keep them off the boards, then a lot of those offensive rebounds and then the putback fouls is what you see a lot of times.
Sure.
If we can protect the Marios and the Shanes with our guys really getting a body on somebody, I think we give ourselves a great chance.
Yeah. Okay. One more question before we go. For those, that we want you guys to go and check out games, home games, we should have the crowd rocking, right? Is there anybody on this squad that's going to be getting the crowd up with some dunks?
Well, the only guy that can I think they all tried to dunk.
Okay, sure.
the two guys that can dunk, the guy that's going to have the best shot because he's in the game the most is Shane Sullivan.
Good, okay.
Shane can throw it too. Elijah Banks can throw it down. Him playing the 5, he's a sophomore. Within a year or two, his body kind of matures. He gets physical. You may see some like in the drop step type dunks.
Ooh, some boat right dunks.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
all right.
I mean, boat ride was another animal, but I think
enough.
he's got the ability as this thing goes on. Now, if he gets a breakaway or something like that, he can throw it down. We got several guys that can grab the rim.
Yeah.
And when we warm up, they all warm up with like the let me pull the rim down and miss
As long as the
dunk.
ref isn't there, that's right.
So I would say our best shot right now is Shane Sullivan. And he's thrown a couple down over the years. He's got 1 or 2 in-game dunks. He's really got the ability to maybe do it in the half court. Like if he catches the top of the key, he can get up that high. But he's playing a ton of minutes. We got to keep his legs fresh. But if Orgain definitely had some some good moments. Even going back to the Damian Perez's of the world, we definitely have had some nice ones. But Coach Zumbrun's just as happy if we lay it up off the glass and
Absolutely.
make the layup. Matter
Points
of
are
fact,
points, baby.
I'm just as happy. So Shane, if you're watching this, lay it up. So
Fair enough. All right, hey guys, go check out the Cavemen. If you get a chance, check them out in the Artesia tournament this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if you don't get a chance to go to that, definitely go to the Cavemen home games at the Cave here in Carlsbad. So thank you, Coach, for being on.
appreciate it. So.